This is Gary Momore coming to you live once again. It's Friday, May 9th, 6:30 p.m. You know, listen, I promised you that we would continue our talk on storm management. And in that, you know what I mean? We're going to talk about, I was going to introduce the theme of fear. Fear, F-E-A-R. But you know what? I said, before I introduce fear, I need to introduce and emphasize racial intelligence. Because if you're truly going to become the GM of your life, you have to be able to be intelligent about your relationships, man. You have to be. You know, relationships, the categories is what's so important. You know what I mean? How many of you know that some of the greatest gifts walk into your life on two legs? That's from Dr. Darius Daniels, author of a book called Relational Intelligence, the people skills you need for the life of purpose that you want. Now listen, let's explore the four categories. First, you have assignments. Assignments are divine. I can remember the divine appointment that I got when I was trying to find my way through life. And what God did, he gave me an assignment to, number one, learn how to be a father. Not a daddy, but learn how to be a father. And the only example I could use was my own dad, how he was always there for us, how he always led by example, how he always made good on any promise that he made to us. And he was there to help us to survive this thing called life. And then he also assigned me to my community. He wanted me to coach, just like my dad did, and teach young people how to live through the game of football. Teach them accountability, teach them responsibility, help them to maintain their position in the classroom, as well as on the practice field and in the game room. To just teach these young kids how to live. And I was determined to do that, you know. By taking that assignment, I also taught myself a lesson in self-responsibility and accountability. So assignments are very, very important, and you must take them extremely seriously because they can help you in so many different ways. And, you know, some of the product of my assignment, I am so proud of, man. And I'm not ashamed of not 1 minute that I spent with those young kids out there on the grassy fields in Aberdeen. I was not ashamed at all. Matter of fact, it helped me to become the person that I ended up growing up to be. It helped me to be a better father. It helped me to be a better friend, a better coach, and a better example for others to follow, you know? So that's one category in relationships. The other is associates. Associates, people that you work with, maybe people that you're in school with, some of your classmates, you know what I mean? They're associates, you know, teachers, coaches. Those are associates, people you almost see almost every day. However, just to see them every day wasn't enough for you to categorize them friends. See, me, I was always a people pleaser. People pleasers, that can be very dangerous sometimes for you, because in your quest to please everybody, sometimes you forget to please yourself and to think about yourself. And you know, as you're looking to lead, you must be willing and able to tell people what they need to hear, even if it's not always what they want to hear. If you're a people pleaser, sometimes you can hold back on letting a person know exactly what they need because you don't want to hurt their feelings and you want to keep on pleasing them. But I learned and I taught that the best way to teach one how to lead and teach one how to be responsible is to always tell them, give them what they need. See, that's called biblical loyalty. Biblical loyalty gives you the power and the vision to give people what they need, and not always what they want. See, I considered myself, I was a yes man. Everything you came to me and wanted to do, I wanted to say yes to it. But with being the yes man, I always wanted to give you some thought behind it. I wanted to always show you some of the consequences and have you look at the consequences and always take the worst case scenario and work up from there. That way, you can not only make an informed decision, you can make a very intelligent decision. And the next category is advisors. Advisors come into your life to drop game on you, drop wisdom on you every now and then. And advisors can prove to be invaluable in your life. See, one thing that I always understood, and I understood this from the very beginning, but I didn't always do it. In relationships, you must be able to recognize relationships, respect the relationship for what it is, and accept people, no matter what, for who they are. A young lady that I grew up with, and I feel comfortable saying that she's a true friend. She told me not too long ago, she called me Mo. She said, Mo, and I was going through a little something at the time. She told me, she said, when people show you who they are, believe it. And man, that made me sit down a little bit. And as I sat down for a second, I realized what she was actually saying to me. It was going back to that relational intelligence, being intelligent about the categories in relationships. Respect and understand relationships for what it is. Be willing to accept people for who they are. There's nothing wrong with that. And the last and most important category that we must understand if we're going to develop the kind of relationships that can be fruitful in our lives, that's that of a friend. True friends prioritize each other. Whether they're going through something good or whether they're going through something bad, they can deal with it together. It's almost like, even though you've heard the term ride or die, that's literally what it is. That's what a true friend is. And true friends are very hard to come by. We can be really loose with using that word friend. And especially if you're a people pleaser. If you're a people pleaser like me, man, you're always looking to elevate someone to the level of friend before they've even earned it. There's nothing wrong with people that you meet as a result of an assignment, because people that you meet as a result of an assignment, if you're passionate about the assignment, like I am, you will get to the point that you find, especially young people, attachments come as a result of assignments sometimes. An attachment is someone who's attached to you, and they attach themselves to you because they know that you have something that they need. Here's where the intelligence comes in. Whether you know it or not, and whether you're willing to recognize it or not, when they get what they need, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously, they're going to leave. And if you put them in the category of a friend, you place them in a category of friend before they've earned it, then you kind of setting yourself up for a big hurt at the end. There's a reason why these categories exist in relationships. Assignments are assignments. Associates, they are associates. Advisors are advisors. But you will never trust an associate, an advisor, or an assignment with those things that you're willing to trust with a true friend, because you're not supposed to. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing at all wrong with that. You just have to understand the categories. Be willing to remember what I said. Be willing to accept people for who they are. Accept the relationship for what it is. And accept people for who they are. And what I have here, I say, a true friend brings a powerful, intangible connection. Ride or die. Feel safe. You feel safe with a friend. You feel safe telling a friend anything that you know won't go any further. You can tell a true friend things in confidence that you can't tell an associate. An advisor don't even want to hear it, because he's there or she's there to drop wisdom. And if they're there to drop wisdom, they don't have time for all of your personal issues. See the picture there? I'm with two gentlemen that I respect to the utmost. The role that they served in my life were that of advisors. They dropped plenty of wisdom on me on more than one occasion. Sometimes it was even hard for me not to even call him from time to time, friend or family. You know how, like in church, you say everybody's family? That's okay. But just understand the categories there. Wes, when I took that ride into the NBA and started working my way through personally managing one of the greatest athletes that this world has probably ever seen, pound for pound, at 6 feet tall, Allen Iverson was the best basketball player, bar none. But I'm going to tell you something else about Allen. He's the best football player I've ever seen. And even better than that, he was a great person. He's a great person, a wonderful person, a kind-hearted person. And I wanted to see him succeed. He didn't always know that one day we would have to part ways from one another. And he didn't want to know that. What I wanted him to know is those things that I was instilling in him to be the general manager, as his personal manager, and to someday be called a general manager in the duties that I took on. I simply was doing it because all of the young people that I wanted to look at him and believe in the dream that they would have for themselves. And I also wanted him to know that everything that I was doing for him, I wanted to prepare him to someday do it for himself. And as I look into today and I see him and Shaq now, he's vice president of operations there with Reebok, and Shaq is the president, and they looking on to make these power moves like they're going to do. Man, nobody could be more proud than myself. But he couldn't do that if he remained attached to me, because that way he could never learn to do it and have the confidence to do it for himself. Boo Williams, there's nobody in this world that knows more about basketball and the prospect of being a professional basketball player than him. And I took his advice very, very seriously. I thought that I knew everything about football. You heard what I said about AI. I said he was the best football player that I'd ever seen. I could teach him things that I could not teach the other kids on the field, but I could teach them to him, and then they could watch him and they could learn from him. See, it was always give and take with us. But Boo, he gave me some of the greatest advice that I ever needed. And I tell you, it wasn't something that I wanted to hear at the time, but it was something that I needed to hear. I was telling Boo that Allen should stop trying to play all these different sports and stop playing basketball and should focus on football, because I was dreaming that one day that he would be a Heisman Trophy winner and would be one of the greatest football players to ever step foot on the University of Notre Dame. See, that was my dream school as a football school. I came up in the days of Ara Parseghian, and you know what I mean? And you know, and I remember those days very, very well when Lou Holtz, you know, was coaching them, and it was just a dream of mine. But Boo looked me right in my face one day as we sat in his office talking about football and basketball. And he said, "Gary, that man has a future in basketball." And I said, "What?" he has a bigger future in basketball. And the rest is history. So that goes to say that advisors play a key role in you becoming the GM of your life. It can help you. It's a very important key. So I had to, before we talk about managing the storms and the theme of fear, because we're going to get to that. Probably one of the later lessons that I teach. But before that, we have to get affluent in characterizing relationships, being intelligent about recognizing who people are in our lives. Then you can develop your strategy. See, vision without a strategy is a wish. Strategy without a vision is just busy work. And we're gonna dive into how to build a winning strategy for your life, just like a GM does for a championship team. See, the general manager of a team, he's the one who's responsible for building the team, developing the strategies for their success, and protecting the vision of the organization. Now, I can't see nothing else more important to your life than you taking up that general manager's role and be as passionate as the general manager is, because he gets paid a lot of money to do that. But you managing your life properly is worth more money than you ever could imagine. More money than you ever could dream of. That's what we have to be able to do. We have to be able to manage our lives effectively in order to develop these strategies and to build the team and to protect the vision that we have for our lives. It's going to help us. It's going to help us to manage those storms. Storms are inevitable, but disaster is not. We're going to talk about how to do that in another session. But if I can get to you to understand and to drive home the importance of relational intelligence, it can help us all along the way as we continue and as we get to the point that we build in that team. Because one of the biggest questions you're going to have is, who's on your roster? How do you identify your true friends, advisors, associates, and assignments? And then as you build in that team, build the right support system around all of your dreams, man. So your dream can't be, or your dream will only be as big as the team that you have supporting those dreams. Understand who and what attachments are. Don't you dare give assigned energy to an attached situation without being able to accept the consequences. Now, I'm not going to stay on this very long, because as you build that team and you manage in your life, you have to make the tough calls. And everything that I'm talking about can help you to do that. In order to grow, you have to make hard decisions, man. When to go and when to stay. Do you think I ever wanted to leave Allen Iverson, personally, professionally, or otherwise? No, I did not. But I had to accept the relationship for what it is. And if his future meant as much to me as I said it did, I knew that someday I would have to leave and go out here on my own and see who else I could help. That's why I wrote Realizing the Answer. Because I wanted people to learn how to make the moves that's best for your life. even if they are painful. I had to accept the fact that death is a part of life. Hell, I lost my nephew, my dear to my soul, man, Boone, before he was 18 years old. Boone was only 17 years old. And here I was out there trying to empower others and trying to teach others how to live through the game of football, and all turmoil going on in my own house. But with defeat also comes victories from time to time, because Boone's death, as painful as it was, it became the catalyst for me to be determined to continue to do what I was doing out there in the community. It became the catalyst for me to say that, Mo, it's not time for me to stop. Fear. Remember, we're going to talk about that? Fear. I had the fear. And I had the biggest adversity that I'd ever reached in my life. And I had to deal with it. I had to make a choice. Was I going to forget everything and run? Fear. Or was I going to face everything and rise? Boy, that was a tough choice. But when your life is calling, choice isn't very hard at all. Live, learn, grow. Be emotionally intelligent, just as you're intelligent emotionally, you have to be intelligent in relationships, relational intelligence. You have to be able to understand how to best use these great gifts that walk into your life on two legs to the best of your ability. And the only way to do that is accept the relationships for what they are and accept people for who they are. That's my message to you today. We went live for almost 30 minutes. But next Friday at 6:30, we're going to have something else to talk about. I'm going to dive into managing those storms that's going to continue to take place as you look to be successful in your life. Be the GM of your life. Live, learn, and grow. And respect the process. Before I close, I want everybody to say happy heavenly birthday to the best friend that I've ever had, my younger brother, Bobby, who passed away much too soon. Today would have been his birthday. We'll have been celebrating together his 70th birthday. God bless you, bro. I'm still trying. Know that we'll meet again. Be the GM of your life, y'all. Keep on, because Coach Mo, he's coming. We're coming together. God bless you. Peace.